Okay, look at all the hearts you're getting, Birdie. Thank you, guys. Okay, I have to go back to the feed. Everyone's asking so many questions. I apologize if I didn't get to your question yet, but I promise you I will. Yeah, birds think they're puppies. He's gonna come back. I'm just gonna answer some questions. Yeah, I don't recommend to put it near a cat. Because, yeah, the cat would hunt it. They'd probably be okay if the cat had no nails when they were a baby. But as soon as it became an adult, the cat would probably eat it. Or try to. So no cats around birds. He was hand-fed by me. I've had this little baby since he was 4 weeks old. And they tried to feed him, but he stopped eating. Like, he stopped growing, he stopped eating, he was malnourished when I got him. And so I was determined to bring him back to life. And that we did. Right, Birdie? With a lot of patience. It was like hand dropper fed every 20 minutes around the clock, 24 hours a day for 6 whole months. So that will tell you how much patience you have to have. So the nice thing about if you got it from a place that actually knows what they're doing, you don't have to go through all that. They would have done all that for you, and then they do a little bit of training. Come on, little bird. Come back. Okay, he'll be back. You could hear his little feathers. Come on. Come on. Yeah, and then, so you don't have to do all that, but what you would have to be doing is, because they're still, when they're like weaned enough to go to you, they have to be introduced to the chop, because what they do is they wean them off the baby formula, and then they slowly get them to eat seeds just so they can get used to the seeds and off the formula. But the birds, if it was up to them, come on, all they would eat is seeds, and if they continue to eat them, they will become a diabetic. And no, I'm not joking. You can Google this if you don't believe me, because high amounts of seeds with the birds, it is all starch mostly, and sugar and carbs. It converts all into sugar, and having too much of that, that's what it ends up in your body, in the bird's body. A bird can get gout, it can get kidney disease, it can get blindness from vitamin A deficiencies, because if they only eat seeds, they're not getting vitamin A. And yeah. Okay, so this is funny what he's doing. Let's see if I can capture this on tape. He is trying to give me a hint that I need to put some more food for him. And the reason why I know that, because I heard him land on the bag of food. So let's see if I can capture this. This is really funny. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open the fridge. Sorry, it's really hard to do this with one hand. You can hear this, and I'm gonna come back, but I'll show you. Because he wants some more food. So I prepared some chop. See how he's sending a distress call. So what's happened is, I will show you. See how there's just this amount of food? So he ate all of it, and he's trying to tell me he's still hungry. So I'm gonna move it to the side. He's just waiting. He's just waiting. Look at the mess he made. Okay, so I chopped up some stuff. We're gonna put some veggies on here. There, you have veggies. But see, it's still not good enough for him. Hey? Not good enough for you. And he's not gonna come. Watch. He won't eat it because there's no seeds on it yet. He's like looking for the seeds. And he's gonna take off because there's no seeds. This is waiting. He's looking at me like, where's my seeds? Where are they? What a catastrophe. Did we forget about you? He's like, what's wrong with you, lady? Why didn't you put the seeds on there? So what he does is he's like, looks at me like, what are you waiting for? Hurry up. Okay, so I'm just gonna go where the seeds are. He chewed up my phone, so that is if you saw that. Okay. Okay, so now he comes and lands on the bag to give me the hint to get the bag open and get the hint lady to give. Here, look. So I just take the seeds and I kind of sprinkle it. There we go. Okay, look at the mess you're making. What a mess. See? He won't eat it unless the seeds are on there. And let's just get your mess off of here. Okay. Okay, and now we've trained him not to sit in his food. There. No, you don't bite. There. So you kind of mix it in. But he won't eat his vegetables unless the seeds are in there. But they're not just regular seeds. I switch them up. Some seeds are really bad. Like, it has like all the vitamins. You have to check all the different bags, but the bag I got was like $50. It's ridiculous. I mean, I could, and if you're in a situation that you need that for your groceries, then do not get a bird yet. Don't get a bird until you have expendable extra income and also emergency money, because if they hurt themselves and they need to go to a vet, you have to have money for that too, because they can easily hurt themselves. And they're always hungry. And they make a big mess. Wait, you made a mess with your water, so I can't even give you that. Okay, let's see if I can get back to the question. It is exactly like you have a toddler. Jocelyn, yes. Yeah, every bird owner will explain that. So I think the best thing to do if you want a bird too, if you have a friend that has a bird, go and stay with them for a few days and let them have a break from their bird, but they're available, and let you just take care of the bird right in front of them. So in case, they'll tell you what to do. Like, do it for 3 or 4 days, and it will give you a reality check on a 24-hour clock. Because some birds, well, if it's a trauma bird like this one, they wake up in the middle of the night wanting water or food. Regular birds don't do that, because I've had regular birds before too. But the trauma ones, they're a little bit more needy, so you have to be patient, right? You have to be so patient with you. What a mess you make, too. I usually have a lot more carrots. He shredded them all. And pumpkin seeds. And what else do we have? Broccoli. He just wants the seeds right now. And then I usually add, what's it called? Quinoa. Quinoa is really important because it's protein cooked with no butter, no oil or anything. You just boil it like rice, and it's like a grain, but it's healthy for birds, and you just mix it in with them. And that way, I try to stay away from protein pellets, because I've given him pellets, and every time I give it to him, he starts wheezing, which means there's a lot of wheat and sugar in those protein pellets, because he never ever does that. It's only when I give him those pellets. So I don't recommend them at all. There's something in them, I don't know what it is, but. And then I recommend also, don't get an oversized bag of seeds, and check the expiry date. Like, let it be like a year from now, even though you'll only use it up in a couple months. And also make sure the bag of seeds has a window. Like, what I mean by window is it's see-through, so you could see inside the bag, to make sure it's clean. There's no moths or caterpillars hiding in there. And the reason why I say that is because if you see something like that, it means the bag has been sitting somewhere that it shouldn't be, like out in the rain, and then got mold inside, or some little bugs got in there and formed, like, it's really not good. There should not be caterpillars or moths or anything in that food. That means it's rancid. And you should complain if you ever see that. It just means it's been sitting in a hot storage and not properly refrigerated or whatever. And I also recommend to check the bag to make sure it's seeds made in USA or Canada. Do not go outside of that, because they just throw whatever in, and that's when you can get bugs and all kinds of critters that you don't want your birds to be exposed to, because they could get internal problems with their digestive tract. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to know. Do you love birds? Do your lovebirds need that light as well? I had lovebirds before. They did not have this light, because when I had them, it wasn't well known. However, those birds were under direct sunlight all the time, like they were right by a window, so they do need light. Because even back then, even though they didn't, but where I am right now, it's just, I've moved to a different area and it's colder, so to be extra safe, I got the light, because just the way there's not much sunlight here in the winter. In the summer, it's no problem, but in the winter, it is a major problem. And they need to be exposed to it for, like, it's not like a 5-minute exposure. They have to have it on them like a lot, most of the day. So you might want more than one light, because like this one, he flies around and has his room, so I have it set up where he always eats, because he always comes in and out of here to eat. Don't be nice. Very good, be nice. But yeah, they always need light. It gives them vitamin D. If you don't give them that light or sunlight, what will happen is you put them at a huge risk of all their feathers to fall out and never grow back. And if you don't believe me on that one, you can Google search the chicken lovebird, I think it's called, or the naked lovebird. Has no feathers. What it does, it will give them some kind of bone feather disease, and all their feathers will fall out and never grow back, and then it lowers their immune system to catch like flu kind of bird viruses. So you don't want to play around with that. Your cockatiels go crazy when you leave, and they get really excited when you come home. Yeah, they're like puppies, right? And if they have each other as companions, then it's not so bad. But when they're by themselves, like this one, nope. I did it with the lovebird, but even though I left, like there's always someone at the house, so there was always someone that he knew he wasn't alone. But if it's a trauma one, you have to be careful. I had one bird long time ago, before, like, was one of my first birds. This is why I learned. I was moving, and I didn't want to disturb the bird with all the noise factor of a move, because it was moving out of a huge house, and there was going to be a lot of movers, a lot of people, a lot of commotion, a lot of movement. So what I did was I found a babysitter, a relative of mine, and I put the bird in a cage and brought it over to the relative so it could be nice and quiet. It was an older couple, and that's it. And the bird was babysat for 2 weeks, because it wasn't just the move, it was the move, the setup, the dishes, and lots of people coming and going, and I needed 2 weeks just to reset the place up with the commotion for the bird to be involved with. And that bird, just me leaving for 2 weeks, I didn't know this, because the owners don't know, like they just were quiet people that I knew it was safe. But when I got the bird back, he went into like this heavy breathing, like his heart was just like panic. He was in a panic because he didn't see me for 2 weeks. And that was a lovebird. So yeah, it really stresses them out when they have any change or if they don't see you. Okay, now I'm at Samantha. Thank you, Samantha. Loves it when the birds preen like that. And yeah, Mr. J, never mix a bird with a cat. And yes, Samantha, he was a hand-fed baby. Oh man, so Jocelyn, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People that hand feed birds are a whole other breed of people. The patience is unheard of. You get a patience you never knew you had, actually. Yeah, the radio, this one is funny. You know how he's nice and bright blue? He loves bright blue colors and bright pink. So I put on like the Sesame Street Elmo so that he can learn like the alphabet and all that stuff. But since my channel is about fashion, I also paired him up with the cartoon, the Barbie cartoon, because Barbie is bright blue and pink colors, and he loves her. He's in love with Barbie. And he just will sit and watch the whole thing like he knows every word coming out of her mouth. It's so funny. Here you go, little bird. So the water, that's just a sunflower that dropped in there. The water I give him is usually always filtered or mineral spring water. So like if you wouldn't drink the water, don't give it to the bird, basically. But I recommend spring water because it has a nice balance of no acid in it, and it has lots of minerals in it. Yeah, so lovebirds, yes, they need to have the partners, and so does this one usually too. But when they are birds that have been traumatized, if they get territorial, they become really vicious when another bird enters, and then that could become really toxic. So you have to keep a good eye on them, and you can still pair them up, but they're not going to be a pair like a couple. They're going to be playmates. And what I mean by that is you should never put them in a nest together because they can get really vicious to the point where one of them can chop the other one's feet right off with their beak. So what you want to do is you separate their cages and you let them have a play area and kind of see if they're good to be together like that. But don't ever put them in a cage alone together, because when you turn your back, they could get vicious, like with the territory. They get really territorial with wherever they have their little territory. Does he chatter a lot? He does a lot of chirps. I put music on for him, but he loves Spanish music. And he chitter chatters to it and sings. And the other funny thing, what did he do? Oh, and then I put tropical birds, like of different jungle sounds of birds, and he mimics them. So he's coming up with different bird exotic sounds, like that are a whole other language. You could tell it's like he's talking to them. Yes, you know we are talking about you. Look at how he just shredded everything. I don't even know where he puts it. I know he wastes a lot of it too. Hey, do you toss it? Is that what you're doing? Are you tossing it? Carrots are really important. Make sure you put carrots in their meal every day because they're really, really sensitive with their eyes. So they're not getting enough vitamin A. One of my friends that didn't know this, over 10 years ago, her bird went blind. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What did you feed the bird? And she's like, birdseed. And I'm like, oh my goodness. She didn't know. Nobody told her that you have to give the bird all this variety. She didn't know. She just gave it birdseed. And in 3 years, the bird went completely blind from a vitamin A deficiency. And she had no idea. It wasn't her fault. Like, no one educated her about it. And this was like over almost 15 years ago. So yeah, really important. Always put carrots. You have to put a variety. You cannot ever give them avocado though. Avocado is a poison for birds. and never give them apple seeds. And most seeds are poisonous to birds when it comes out of a fruit. The ones that are safe is always look them up, but chia seeds are good, flax seeds are good, chia, pumpkin, just a little bit of sunflower. Don't overdo it because they're fattening, so they're nice as a treat but not like overdone. But they need to have like kale, broccoli, lettuce, like basically all of it. So you have to look up everything to make sure they're allowed to have it. Banana is good too, blueberry, strawberry. You have to throw in a fruit, which he had earlier, so. Yeah, okay, so very good, Jocelyn. Yes, you had a lovebird couple that they threw a tiny infant out because it was a run. Yeah, they don't want to keep them when, like, the bird actually will. I think rabbits do that too. If the bird is not strong enough compared to the rest of them, they toss them out. They're really mean. So then the human has to take over, and then if the human doesn't have the patience, because they do need to be fed every 20 minutes when they're a baby like that, like around the clock, because their body is full of uric acid. They have such a high acid content. So if your bird starts biting you for no reason, I can guarantee you it's because he is not eating enough food. And because a lot of pet owners think like they're used to having a dog or a cat, and dog and cats eat more on a schedule, whereas birds, they're scavenging all day long in the wild, and as a pet, they should have food available, so when they're hungry, they know it's there, and water, and they'll eat a lot more than you think. And it depends on the season. When they're molting, they eat more than they usually do because their feathers are growing, so they need extra protein. Aw, Samantha, he's happy now. That's awesome. Yeah, dropper feeding birds, and then after they're done with the dropper feeding, then you have to, then like the breeder will give them seeds, right? But then your job is to wean them off the seeds. Not fully, but when you're doing the weaning process, you have to introduce them to all the vegetables. So, and it was brutal. It was like they're scared of all the vegetables. They don't know what it is. So thank you so much for the invite. I can't do them yet though. I'm so sorry. I will in the future. Keep it in mind for later, just because I need somebody to help me here to do the live feed. Yeah, so you have to wean them off of so they get off the formula, right, when they're babies. Then they go into seeds so they can get off the formula. Then from the formula into the seeds, they get used to eating more solid, right? But they can't stay that way. It's just a temporary thing to get them off the wet little formula baby food. Now you have to introduce them to real vegetable stuff, and you basically have a window of about 4 months to train them to do that, because they won't do it overnight. And if you go over that 4 or 5 month window, they start to get dependent on just seeds, and then they can get major nutritional deficiencies, or like their just system starts to harden up, right? Like it's too much dry, right? It's imagine yourself eating bread all day long for 6 months. You're gonna get sick from all the carbs, because that's basically what seeds are. Even though they are fortified with vitamins and minerals, it's not the same as the fiber they need, right? Because they can have the same digestible issues as humans, so you don't want to do that. They can end up with diabetes and gout. So that's why on my feed you will see me, like, I have a section for it's health, fitness, and then it goes into like the style with the traveling of the pets. So it's a mix of 4 different subjects, but they all have to do with the fashion industry. And this bird will teach you a lot about your own health, to start paying attention to it, right? You're gonna eat our veggies, right? You can see he loves the carrots. And I also put a carrot stick when he sleeps. I put it in when he sleeps with the cuddle bone. Because in the middle of the night, if he wants to chew on something, that's what he gets to chew on. Keeps it healthy. So, Jocelyn, you basically did the same thing, yeah. When you take them away from their clutch when they're in the runt and you put them in another lovebird couple, yeah, they can mix with another bird if they're gentle, but sometimes they're not gentle. So they can still play together. Like I had my lovebird with a budgie and they played perfect, but I let them sleep in their own cages at night. But they would play all day and they had fun. And then I had another one that was teamed up with the little baby puppy I had, and they were like best friends. They cuddled and it was the cutest thing ever. Aw, Jocelyn, that's so sweet. User 202 says, "You're sweetie. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for all the hearts and flowers that you guys all sent. It is so beautiful. And all the support, because we're pretty new here. And I had to take a break from the channel, but I promise you I will be back. I'm just, for the new people, I'm setting up a store. So once the store is set up, then we will be on here, the TikTokering, talking every day. But right now I'm focusing on get the store up and running. It's already late. I missed my deadline. I was supposed to be open for Christmas, but my crew got called on other projects, so then I lost my crew while they're away on those projects, so then I got dumped into a whole bunch more workload behind the scenes. So all I want to do is my TikToks and then like showcase all the fashion stuff with you guys, and the bird and I will be modeling the stuff later. Okay, but it's a process. Things will come up, things will really irritate you through the process, but just keep going. If you build it, they will come. If you're thinking of doing a side hustle with your animal and you're not sure if you should, you should. It doesn't have to be anything like crazy. You can make it really simple. But you have to start somewhere, and you just do it while you have a job, because with myself, I always had my you know, my independent stuff going on, but then everything changed during the pandemic, so I had to do a lot of rearranging, and it's really stressful. So if you can make it work so you can stick to even like 4 hours at a job and then spend 10 hours at your business, then eventually you don't need that other job. Right, birdie? Lolly. This bird's name is Baby. I call him Baby, but on here he's a baby birdie boss. He is a boss of your smiles. And he is like a wolf when it comes to eating his food. Hey? What happened to all your food? You just shredded it like crazy. So yeah, you can see he just wolfed it right down. Okay, he wolfed everything. So you can see the little baby pellets. These little green things. They are protein little pellets that come in. And then I have mixed. It's hard to see here, but there's like all the little brown seeds that you see. They kind of fell like this. This is a flax seed, so you have to buy those bulk separately. And then the little dots, I don't have them in here right now, but the chia seeds. This is stuff you guys should be sprinkling on your food too, because the chia gives you protein and the flax gives you omegas oils. Oh, live boss. I'll have to do a live, you guys, in the future. I can't do them yet. I apologize, but I will in the future, I promise. And I also will be on the feed eventually. Sooner or later. It was supposed to happen sooner, but I got a lot of interruptions. And for me to be on the feed, it's like a full-time job, right? Like to get ready, to do all the fashion stuff we're going to do. It's like a full-time job. So I have to focus on one thing at a time, and I had a lot of interruptions, so I apologize, but I promise I will be on the feed, not just a voiceover eventually. But just to show you guys something of what you guys can do, I've just been at voiceover, and I've been working on it every day, though. I have not slacked one day since I opened, and I've been working behind the scenes, and I try to go live once a week, and I have gotten accumulation of 8,000 people on here, and I haven't been on the feed yet. So once a person's on the feed, that totally changes everything, right? Because it's more personable. But people can get to know you. Hey, what you doing up there? Come. He has food all over his mouth. He's gonna wipe it. Let's see. I trained him to have manners. Here's a napkin. Wipe up your mouth. Very good. Very good. So funny. Come on, come back. I'm just gonna answer some questions. When is the shop opening? Thank you so much for supporting the shop. It is going to be opening as soon as possible. I'm working on it every day. I was just explaining. It was supposed to be open for Christmas, but I had a crew helping me, and they got called out to do their other project assignments that came up. So then I got dumped into a situation where I had to take on more work. So it got delayed because of that. So I'm hustling as fast as I can, and I'm just gonna keep everyone posted as it happens, but I'm very close to opening it. I'm just like doing the final touches, but I went through 25,000, yes, 25,000 pieces of clothing that are so awesome, and they're gonna be styled. Come, baby, come. They're gonna be styled into little tropical sections. So all the tropical countries that you like, say for Hawaii, for example, or Jamaica or Greece, you want to go to these places, I have clothes that are gonna match going to these places and all the backdrops, and so it's already styled for you, so it's gonna be really elegant, especially if you like to get dressed up. But like, it'll be like casual, semi-dressy. It's everything from shorts to, and it's guys and girls, so it's shorts to shirts to dresses, everything you would want to model if you were on wherever. Like, say if you're in Greece, right, you're on the beach. If you are in Hawaii, obviously too, you're with palm trees in a pineapple field. So I have everything set up for, like, I researched all the locations and all the things in the locations, so I'll be able to show you guys, do all the pictures, and then just have fun with it. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. And yeah, so I'll keep you guys posted. I'll just keep letting people know on here. But thank you for your support on it. I just want to encourage people, though, to do something they're passionate at. He's gonna come back. Come on. Come on. He's up on a chandelier. Let's see if I can capture what he's doing as he's doing it here. Let's see. Are you, birdie? The people want to see you. Okay, I just put a little blanket up here because he keeps going here. He's not allowed on here, but he's on the chandelier ledge. Whoops. You're not allowed on here. What are you doing? What are you doing? You have to come back. The people want to talk to you. They want to inquire how high maintenance you are. So yeah, the reason why the bird, just to make the long story short, he was, for the new people, he was a rescue bird that came in to the picture, and he only got to be adopted because of the fact I was 3 hours away from my hometown on a project, and it just was a fluke, but I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. And I was told by my head office crew, if I could figure out a way to incorporate this bird in this business, then I could definitely adopt him. And that is how he got to get out of that. No, be nice. That's how he got out of that little situation. Hey? I'm just gonna see if I can do this. It's so hard to do with one hand. Okay, we're gonna the other place. Okay. Let's see if he can go. And yeah, so now he is the mascot, and he is he's the baby Birdie Boss brand, because we're opening up the Birdie Boss runway. Hey. So this is just behind the scenes of the story of how it all came about, but basically also I wanted to share it so I can inspire others, because not all of us are ready to retire. We're too young, but a lot of us have animals or a passion of some kind that we can mix whatever with. And a lot of us have been working really hard before the pandemic, and then if you worked with the public like I did, your whole life got thrown upside down. So then you have to regroup and be really extra creative. So yeah, I don't recommend to do what I'm doing, because it is a lot of work, but I do recommend to do like a simpler version of something that you're comfortable with, right? And it could be anything. Let's say if you're a guy and you like to fix things, okay? Like even if you're a mechanic. So be a mechanic, show people the process of being a mechanic, and then get yourself some wholesaler that has tools that you recommend and you can talk about while you're fixing it. And then you put a link up of your tools, and every time there's a TikTok, people are curious and they will go and check out the tools you recommend, because they could see you know what you're doing and they trust what you're saying, and you just help them with the project. Oh, he just went back up. So that's how it works. And with myself right now, it's not posted because it's not ready, but I have just a small little sample of some art right now. You can take a peek, because I do decorate people's homes. I did those, they're like digital art pieces myself with all these like safari jungle animals or whatever. And I'm going to continue it with fashion. If you're going to go on a safari trip to Africa or even Hawaii, they have the dinosaur one. Let's see if I go back up here. Sorry, to go back and forth following him. He's just being a brat. Then what you do is, like, you guys can check out like my paintings and stuff, but I'm going to be adding, for example, to those paintings, the jungle safari clothing to go with them. Where are you, Birdie? You're just a little brat. Yeah, and so you could get an idea. So then, like, let's say you are a photographer, you went on a safari, and now you want to model in the pictures. I have all the cool clothes coming to match. And then when you come back home, you want to remember the trip, so you have all the pictures, you want to put them in this special room that you made, and then you want to maybe decorate the room to think of that safari. I have all the paintings you could put on the room. But my clothing fashion store is still being built, and it's almost done, thank God. And once that's posted, then I'll put the link. But so you can save it, and that one will be everything clothing wise you need to go on your trip, and some souvenir fun stuff. If you, let's say you're gonna go to Greece and you're gonna go visit some family there, and you want to take pictures on the beaches or go to the restaurants on the beach, I have all the clothes for your date if you're a guy or a girl. And then I have like little fun souvenir stuff that you can bring to visit family and friends as a souvenir from whatever, just to say fun stuff to do with Greece. And then I have it on other places, so traveling around the world. So if you go to Monaco, France, Hawaii, I have almost all the countries that people visit a lot, and then later I'll add more. But I have about 50 countries. That's why it's been taking so long. And I've been up every day working so hard finding the best of the best, because I'm really picky, right? And I started it as a tropical thing, right? That's why the bird is like tropical, right? But it ended up being more than just tropical. But we'll be focusing a lot on the Hawaiian and tropical stuff. Hey, Birdie? Can you come down now? Can you? They can't see you as much up there. No, they can't. That's not a perch. I had to put a blanket up there because he goes up there so much that he's not supposed to go there. Come on. Come on. Okay. Oh. I'm taking him with the blanket. Okay, ready? I have to put you to bed. I don't want to make you guys dizzy, so I'll just put the black screen on. Okay, we gotta go inside. Okay, I'm sitting on like this couch that is making so much noise. Okay, so let's see. I'm just gonna wrap him. Okay, we're gonna wrap you up. And you have to go to sleep now, okay? You ate your food. You had your water. Now it's sleepy time. Okay? Sleepy time for you. There you go. Okay, there. Peekaboo. There you go. Say goodnight to everybody. We had so many conversations we got diversed from. Hey? There. Just go to sleep. Go to sleep. There. See, I can't see the feed when it's white. There. Are they very costly? Yes, they are. The food is costly. That's the most expense. Because I just went grocery shopping to make the chopped salad. Obviously, I can have some too. But the nice thing about it, for the new people, if you make it into a business, right? It's different with every animal. But, like, you know how expensive it is to buy food for any animal. Now, if you make... I gave the example of the man with the tool, right? The tool man that is a mechanic. Now, if that tool guy also had a dog in the feed, and it was like him and the dog, and then you had something that, like, say, some special food that you know these dogs like, say if I have a husky or whatever breed, you can talk about the husky breed and the food and blah blah. And guess what? It's expensive to feed a husky because they're a big dog, right? And probably to groom them too. Well, now if you have them in the feed on a regular basis and it's part of, you know, the channel and the stuff you teach and talk about, the food, which I don't even want to guess how much husky food is, but this bird food, I went shopping yesterday. I bought chop, like all the vegetables I need to chop up for him. It costs $50, and that is only going to last me maybe four days. That's how expensive it is, because a lot of it goes to waste too. But the beauty of it, now that I have a business with this animal, I can write it off, which I can eat some of that food too, because I'm part of the project as well. And then I'm going to teach people about how important it is to eat really good food and salads, and I will post that every once in a while, different recipes, what you could do for the bird, and then what you could do for yourself if you want to be healthy. And I just started to do that on the last 6, I think, down. If you look, if you want really good salad recipe and you want to start a new health regime, raw food is the way to go. And you don't have to eat 100% raw, but you have, like, your salad as a base, and then you just mix in whatever you want for protein. And the bird eats basically the same, except they don't eat steak. Instead, they have quinoa for their... So yeah, there's a lot of, like, perks. So you incorporate your lifestyle into the job, and you put on social media, and you make it unique. Don't copy anyone, because people will know if you copy them. But if you have your own style of something that you love to do and teach, and that you've been doing and have a lot of experience in. With me, it's fashion, and this is how I incorporated the bird with fashion, because he's very tropical looking. So I decided to make a tropical boutique, but then it grew into more than just a tropical one. Now it's turned into 50 different boutiques, and I've opened, well, we'll be opening a mall, which is so crazy. But I didn't have a choice, because I didn't want to throw in waste all that time that I found all these other beautiful clothes. So I just separated them all, which took forever. And it looks really nice, and I think people will enjoy them. And my whole goal is to be able to meet the people in all these countries too, because I've traveled before, but now I can incorporate it into my job. And because it's a legitimate business expense, all my traveling will be a write-off. So I've turned the job into a lifestyle, and I want to encourage people to do that too. And then we can share tips and like birds are really difficult to travel with. I've looked up, but not by car, but by plane. There's a lot of extra, especially if you're going to a different country, and especially if you're going to a tropical place like Hawaii. They don't allow just animals to come there, especially if you have a cat, because there was a big rabies problem, I guess, on the island. So they don't encourage it, but you still can do it. But there's it's not worth it unless you're going to go there for 6 months, which is worth it for someone like me because of the job I would be doing, right? So that's definitely one of the places I would like to be going in and out of, because I absolutely hate winter in Canada. It's really cold here, you guys, in the winter. So I'm hoping this is the last year of winters in Canada. So I will be spending it traveling, and then I want to go to every beach in the world and then meet all the people that made it happen and do photo shoots with them. Okay? And just connect with them, because everyone on my feed is an animal lover and a fashion lover. So I hope that answered your question about the cost. R570 birds that fly, it's wild. Mostly pigeons, but you can train any bird actually if you have the patience. They're very smart. Pigeons back in the war times used to deliver letters. They have a natural GPS. I don't even know how that's possible. Back then, I remember my great grandpa saying this, that back then that's how they delivered the mail. My grandpa told me that that's how my great grandpa did it. And yeah. Or this is funny, the dating world, you know how people have all this technology, and we have cars, and we have transportation and all this stuff, and yet people don't even communicate because they don't know how, even though they have all the technology. Well, back in those days, they didn't even have electricity in certain places. They were reading by candlelight, and they didn't have telephones. All they had is a pen and a paper, and they didn't have mail service. They depended on pigeons, and then later the mail service came. But seriously, even that's hard to communicate. You think of all the people you know, and if they had to go away, if you had to communicate just by letters, how often would you actually hear from anybody in this generation? We wouldn't, because nobody likes to write anything. They don't like to talk. They don't like to text. They have all this technology available, and they don't do anything about it. Everyone owns a phone, and no one even talks. Whereas back then, they made the effort, and they would write back and forth, and they utilized animals, which is crazy. They trained animals to transport letters back and forth. How's that even possible? And when you think about it, how do animals a pigeon knows where to fly and how to get back? And it's thousands of miles away in a different country. And the animals still do that, right? The birds in Canada, they all fly south because it's too cold in the winter to live here. So yeah, that's why they call the Canadian and Americans, they call when they get the heck out of here in the winter, their nickname is the snowbirds. So they go live the Canadian culture here. They live here in the summer because it's really beautiful, really, really nice in the heat. But in the winter, they all go to Arizona or California or Hawaii or Mexico because it's just too cold here. I have a lot of questions. Oh my goodness. Hey, Birdie, we have lots of questions. I promised everyone to answer them. I'm reading in the Jocelyn. I swear I don't want to be mean or rude. It's that nobody gets that. They need all day care. And yeah, that's the thing with Birdie. Most animals don't need that, but it's kind of like kids. Kids don't need all day care, but then there are certain kids that they do because of what happened to them. Kids, I don't know if you've ever been around kids with trauma. Or like kids that been through, they were orphans in an orphanage and then they got out of that situation. They're not like regular kids. I've been around kids like that when they became teenagers. It's a whole other kid you're dealing with. And it's the same with animals. Most animals, they don't need that kind of, they're not needy like that. But if they've been through something that traumatized them enough, like this one was unfortunately locked up for 20 hours a day by himself because nobody wanted to come near him, and they would like put food through, little, how they have like cages, right? They were too scared to even put their hand in there, so they would just toss food in there and he wouldn't eat it at all. He was too small. You can't do that to a little baby like that. They need special care. And as someone was saying, even their own parents will toss them out when they're a little runt. They have no patience for what they need. And they usually die even in the wild when they're a runt. And because it wasn't the people's fault, so I'm not saying that. It's just they were scared because every time they tried to put their hand in there, this bird would literally gouge, like bleed their finger or almost poke their eye out, stuff like that. So they were too scared. And so they're like, we'll just toss some seeds and he'll be fine. He just ignored it. He didn't want it. He just was screaming at the top of his lungs. So they're trying to make him quiet, right? Because they're trying to, they're just busy trying to get him out of there to find a home of someone that could take him out of there and take care of him. And it takes a certain kind of person with a certain kind of patience, and it's not for everybody. And that's why I don't recommend to rescue a bird unless you do have that kind of patience, because it's not fair to you because you won't sleep, and it's not fair to the bird because what will happen is you'll get really annoyed and irritated with it, right? Because it's cutie and everything, but then the cuteness would wear off if you haven't had sleep for 6 months, right? And that's just like children, new mothers. I'm not a mom myself, like as in a real mom, but I have been like, I call it a surrogate mom to looking after lots of kids growing up. Like I come from a huge family, so I got the opportunity to look after all my siblings. For example, when my parents went to work, I was the one taking care of them, like from newborn. So I know the reality check. So that's why if you've done something like that before, then you can look after an animal. But if you've never had to do that, it's just like, it's a huge undertaking. So I don't recommend it unless you have the lifestyle, the patience, the money to like get all the tools and emergency money in case they get sick and need a vet. It's like adopting a kid that has gone through trauma. And now he's really well behaved, but when I got him, he was screaming at the top of his lungs. And like they didn't tell me that. He didn't do that when I was there. And he was just crying and crying, and it just hurt my heart. So instead of getting frustrated with him, I just picked him up and I wrapped him up and I put him on my heartbeat and I just cuddled him. I took him everywhere I went. I put him in a pocket, and he just would sit there trembling. That's how scared he was. And now he doesn't tremble anymore, and he gets so much love, and it's just something he deserves. And for me, like I said, I have always been with the public, and then I was forced to be isolated little area on a computer to design. And until that project was done, I couldn't talk to no one because the amount of focus time it took. So he was like my little companion while I was finishing this project. And then sooner or later, I'm going to be out in the public again when it's safer. And I do take him out in the public, and he gets swarmed by people everywhere we go. So I'm getting him used to that. And that's why, since he is getting used to that, I made him into a social media little icon. And eventually, the way I changed his life, he's changing mine too, because he inspired me to do something completely outside the box, which is super outside the box and super crazy. And I don't recommend to do it on this level, but I do recommend to try something different. And it doesn't have to be with an animal. It could just be you have a talent of something different, right? Maybe you sing, maybe you paint, maybe you dance, maybe you know how to fix things. It could be anything, or a certain kind of talent that, like, say, carpet weaving that's only done in certain countries, but people in other countries are so curious to know how it's done. Like, it could be something so, like, easy for you because you're around it. Same with travel. You might be in a place that you're so used to. You wake up every morning and you're, like, used to the mountains, for example, like where I am in British Columbia, and to me, I'm used to them. They're not a big deal. But when people from another country come visit, they're like, wow, I can't believe you live in this place, right? It's like going to Hawaii. Like, wow, you would be like, you're the luckiest person on earth, right? But the people that live in Hawaii, they're used to that. So just something simple. You gotta just take whatever you do in your life and incorporate it into this and make it into your job. Whether it's with an animal or not, it will change your life. But it's not easy, and I'm not going to paint the picture that it is. It's a lot of work. I don't recommend to do it unless you have a team. Like with me, I started with a team, but they couldn't keep up to the hours. And also, it's not because they didn't want to. They're going to come in and out, but everyone has to work, right, to make money. And if you're going to dedicate the time that you need, it is going to take over your life, which it's great, but it's also very overwhelming at times because nobody gets it unless they're doing the same thing. So anyway, I wanted to encourage that to people. Are you listening? You falling asleep? He's like, you could see his personality. He's like, keep talking. I'm gonna sleep and get bored with your voice. So it works out perfect for what I'm doing. So I hope, sorry, I'm losing my voice from talking. I hope I am gonna inspire you guys all to find whatever it is and you build it and they will come. And I have proved it with many companies. I've done this before. That's why I'm confident, even though I've never done it here on the TikTok. But I've taken companies from scratch. I'm just this little girl from a little town, right? But I have a lot of experience. I've come from a family business. I come from a huge family. And now everyone's kind of dispersed. So it's so, like, outside the box for me to be doing this independently. And it takes a great amount of strength as well to kind of put your foot down and go into a focus mode. And especially when people don't visualize anything because you haven't even put it up yet, right? But the people that are visual, and I've talked about it, they totally support it. And that's all that matters. And like I said, I'm just a voiceover right now, but I will be on the feed and people will see my real self. But people can feel my heart. You know the kind of person you're dealing with just by having the conversations. But what I'm trying to say is, with just the voiceover, bringing in an audience of 8,000 people is really difficult to do. And I haven't even been on here as often as I need to be or want to be because I'm so preoccupied with what I have to do behind the scenes before I can launch on the scenes. But the point is, if I could do that, so could you guys, right? And you just start, like, let's say if you're a painter, just start painting and just show your work as you're painting. You don't even have to be in the feed in the beginning. Eventually people do want to, they want to know who they're dealing with, right? But while you're figuring it out and doing all the busyness that you need to, till you figure it out, until you're ready, you can at least start, right? Because then it builds some kind of backlog. And then once you're on there, then people already have trusted some part of your process, and then you continue. Sharon is asking if this is a lovebird. No, this is a Pacific parrot. It looks really similar to a lovebird. I've had lovebirds before. Lovebirds are part of the parrot family, but I believe they come from Africa, if I'm not mistaken. Or some of them do. I don't know if they're different breeds in different spots. This one comes from Costa Rica and Mexico, all the jungle, Amazon kind of forest, Brazil. And they're quieter breed, but they're way more high maintenance breed. They're similar to a macaw. They're a relative of a macaw. And they're really super over the top, like children. Super relaxed. Chloe, I love birds. We have an African gray parrot. Oh my goodness, they're so smart right now, but I definitely want to care for birds later. Aw, yeah, so if you have bigger birds and you want to have smaller little flock, that would be perfect too. Because the little baby ones and the big ones, they seem to be more buddy-buddy, and they seem to be more gentle. I don't know why. But when they're the same size, like the little ones, they get feisty. And like, I've seen like different documentaries, like I'm not saying all of them are like this, but like budgies are really good to team up with any kind of parrot when they're feisty, because they kind of like, they give the other parrot space, whereas the other parrot to parrot, they don't give each other space. And if one of them wants space, they get really mad. So then they can get vicious. So you have to just kind of feel it out. But it's usually good if you separate the nighttime cages, then you're okay. And they can just play during the day. That's usually fine. It's just they get territorial at night, because it's like, this is my turf and don't come near it. So they don't want to share a cage or den at night. Oh, I saw you guys are mentioning about betta fish. I had a betta fish too. They're so cute. I'm just trying to go back in the feed to make sure I didn't miss anything. The feed is really hard to read, by the way. Not to do with you guys, it's just me. So I'm trying to put color on the back. Hey, birdie. All the people want to say hi to you. Oh, the turkey doctor's back. Welcome back. Oh, Jocelyn, your bird saved your life and still do. Yeah, they speak a language to your heart. I can't explain it. Only a bird owner would understand. And it's funny. I've had, like, people see me interact with this bird, but I've had other birds, and they're just like, they always say to me, why and how do you get the patience? And it makes me realize not everyone is cut out to have a bird. Birds, it's the same question you would ask people when they look after children. How do you have the patience, right? Some people don't have the patience because children are loud, they're picky eaters, they throw a tantrum. Like, who has the patience for this, right? It's the same thing. Birds are kind of the same. But they hold some kind of special thing in them that, I don't know, like they just, I can't explain it. I don't know how to explain it. They just, you know what it is with me, with this bird, what inspires me is I saw him, like, well, with most birds, but this particular one, because for the backstory, the shorter version, because I don't want to repeat myself a million times for the people that have been on the feed. But for the new people, this bird was a little orphan, and it was rescued, and it was locked up in a way that it did not deserve. It wasn't like just locked up in a cage, you know. It was locked up for its own safety because it was a very feisty pit bull kind of bird at one time. He's not anymore. And he was only like that because he was so scared. And the people that were temporarily looking after him, which were just a holding area that had no experience, they were experienced in meeting people, and they meant well, but they were not set up. And they were just thrown this little rescue bird, or like this traumatized bird, at them in an emergency. So it wasn't their fault. They kept the bird from being shuffled too many times. But anyway, so what happened was they were terrified of him, though, because they couldn't contain him. He was like vicious to everyone because he was mad, he was sad, he stopped eating because birds self-destruct just like humans can if they are really upset or stressed to the like over the top max, and their brain can't take it anymore. They self-destruct. They stop eating. They'll pick all their feathers out. They'll freak out. And anyway, this is what kind of mode this bird was in at this place that I met him in. I didn't know how bad it was, though, because he wasn't like this with me. I just noticed till after I took him home because of how he was behaving, because I didn't see that side of them. All I saw was they said they were scared of him because they tried to bite. He tried to bite them. He tried to gouge their eyes. They couldn't let him. Whatever. So they just kept him in this contained place, and then they would leave the room. So now he's abandoned again in his head. He's thinking, why are you guys abandoning me? And it's because they couldn't handle him, and they were scared of him. So they just tossed food in there and some water. They didn't go in there to speak to him, nurture him, do anything like you're supposed to do. And they just left him in there, trying to find like people that will come to rescue him. And it doesn't work like that. And what happened was, the whole time from when the people left till they came back, which was hours later because they were busy running their establishment, the bird all day would stick his face in between the bars trying to get out. He's trying to chop off the metal bars to escape because he was like a prisoner, and it was just horrible. And anyway, whenever someone would walk into their facility, they wanted to show off the bird, so they moved it from out of that place, which I didn't know it was in bars like that. I didn't find out till later when I got him home and could inspect him better, and his whole face had like marks and bruises and all kinds of stuff, and it wasn't anyone's fault, even though it was not cool. The backstory on that is that the corona situation forced the original place that had him to shut down, because they did what the restaurant industry, like, no announcement, no preparation. They're like, no, you can't have this because everyone has to come in on 4-hour interlot, whatever, intervals. Everyone has to wear masks. Everyone has to be set up like this. And also with birds, you cannot sanitize with like bleach and chemicals and all that, because if they breathe that in, they can die. So there's a whole protocol with the cleaning. It was just a nightmare for the people. So they were forced to shut down, disperse like hundreds and hundreds of animals, like as if it was like cargo. And so people that meant well, they're like, oh yeah, well, we have a roof that he can be under. But they had no clue, right? And so out of desperation, the original people just gave the birds to whoever would take them. And those people it wasn't fair to them, but they meant well. They tried to find good homes, but they had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And anyway, when I started to hear the stories, my heart hurt, and I literally started to cry. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot let this bird stay here because it's gonna die. But I was trying to figure out how the heck could I take him, because I was working 18 hours a day, and my whole life of my job just got thrown upside down, and I didn't know what I was gonna do in my design world life until the people in my behind the scenes head office, I phoned them literally breaking down crying, and they're like, what happened? And then I tell them the story, and they're like, you know what, this might be perfect. You're the creative one, think of a way you can make him in the project and just take that animal out of there. And it was like a relief, because I felt so guilty to leave him, because I thought I had to leave this little baby to suffer, and I just couldn't. I'm like, but I didn't know what to do. And then when the people that I work with suggested that, and then were like, just do a whole entire social media about him and make it into your brand, and then just do it like that. So here we are. And that is what I'm doing. It's still not open yet because I've been working, and this little bird has been by my side working, just watching me work and helping me by, taking the clothes and wrecking the buttons and making me redesign and keeping me going. So yeah, it's been quite the journey so far, even though we haven't even started the real journey, but the behind the scenes has been